The room was glass and steel and silence, the kind that presses against your eardrums until you can hear your own pulse miscounting the seconds. 85 people in swivel chairs, laptops half open like clams, eyes flicking anywhere but at me. The big screen on the wall threw a screensaver of drifting shapes across the conference table, casting lazy light on a bowl of lifeless mints. And then Robert, our CEO, rapped his knuckles against the glass tabletop hard enough to make the water carafes shiver. "Stand up," he said, voice level, eyes bright the way a storm looks bright on the horizon. "Own your mistakes. Apologize to my son." Brandon sat 2 seats down from him, arms crossed, smirk barely legal. 10 months in the building and somehow his name had jumped 3 lines on the org chart in a week. He wore that smug, expensive look I've seen on young lieutenants who were sure a shiny bar outranked gravity. My chair scraped the floor. Heads pivoted. I could feel the draft of every turn. "My name is Rick Patterson. I'm 52, a cybersecurity lifer who learned protocol the way most people learn to breathe. 12 years in the Army taught me how to hold my ground while the room rearranged itself around me. The private sector taught me that sometimes the artillery is a smile. I kept my hands visible, old habit, when I walked to the front. The projector hummed awake, a low mechanical throat clearing that made the people in the back shift in their seats. Slack notifications had been a constant drizzle all morning. They dried up now like somebody kicked a router. The camera in the corner of the room, installed after a transparency initiative, blinked its little red, recording a meeting we all pretended was normal. "Rick," Robert said, placing each word like a chess piece. "This is your moment to be a team player, or to pack your desk." He wanted a speech, a public kneel. I gave him a cable instead, snapping my personal device into the HDMI like slapping cuffs on a plan. On the screen, my home layout flashed, folders stacked with dates, file names trimmed to say what mattered and nothing else. I heard someone behind me mutter, "Oh, he brought receipts," and someone else shushed them fast. Brandon's smirk twitched. He leaned toward the mic in front of him, whispering something to his father. I didn't need to read lips to catch the vibe. Kill the feed. Stop him before he starts. "Let's align on facts," I said, keeping my voice steady, keeping my breath slow so it wouldn't wander. "If accountability's the standard, we should all be working from the same record." Robert's smile was a sales slide, clean, hollow. "We've all seen the record. The Pentagon deliverables you oversaw? Sloppy, costly, dangerous." Brandon identified the faults. "He saved the account you put at risk." A stir ran through the room. Curiosity, discomfort, relief at not being me. Hayes, our board chair, sat at the far end like a granite pillar, face unreadable, hands folded so still you might mistake him for asleep. He wasn't. "Then there's nothing to worry about," I said. I tapped the touchpad, and the screen switched from folders to a simple slate background with a timestamp in the top corner. "Quick housekeeping. What you're about to see is material I collected legally, kept with original hashes, and mirrored to a neutral drive. I'm not here to ambush anyone. I'm here to align reality with the slide deck." A few eyebrows jumped at the words original hashes. "Fine. Let tech vocabulary do what courage couldn't." Robert's chair creaked. "Turn it off," he said softly enough to be more threat than instruction. "That's internal material. You don't have the right." "The company camera," I said, nodding toward the blinking eye in the corner, "is already recording this meeting. If the concern is privacy, we should probably start there." A sharp, contained laugh snapped out from somewhere in the sales row and died just as quickly. People looked at their hands. People looked at me. People looked at the door like the fire marshal might save us all from having to pick a side. I could feel the weight of my daughter's college bills in my pocket, the way a coin can feel like an anchor. I could feel 40 late nights in my spine, each one logged with timestamps and draft versions, each one stolen by a kid who thought cut and paste counted as creativity. My palms cooled. My heartbeat settled into a hard, slow drum. "I'll be brief," I said, which was a lie, and we all knew it. I wasn't here to be brief. I was here to be clear. Behind me, the screen filled with a simple 3-column table. Original/altered/access log. No names yet. No detonations. Just structure, something a cautious person could step across. First row, a protocol document. Second row, a test suite report. Third row, a network diagram. Most people in the room wouldn't read the minutiae, but they would understand the checksums. Even if you don't know what a fingerprint means, you know a mismatch when you see it. Everything we send to government clients should survive 2 tests, I said. Technical integrity and traceability. If our process breaks either, we don't just risk a contract, we risk people who depend on the infrastructure we're supposed to protect. Robert steepled his fingers. This is grandstanding, he said. You had months to fix your mistakes internally. That's true, I said. I did. I tried. I let the next slide land. Not the recordings. Not yet. Just a timeline, emails, file versions, access windows. Anomalies circled. Not with screaming arrows, just with small, careful halos like a crime scene tech might place around a shoe print. The room leaned forward together, the animal herd feeling the predator grass. I could sense Brandon trying not to look at the times, 2:11 a.m., 3:47 a.m., and the sign-ins from a machine tagged to his office, the edits that flattened key controls into nice-to-haves. Enough, Robert said, voice climbing a notch. Do you think a project of this size doesn't require iterative refinement? Do you think your draft is scripture? Nothing I write is scripture, I said. But when the encryption scheme gets downgraded, and the monitoring thresholds get loosened, and the justifications are rewritten to make that look prudent, that's not iteration. That's marketing a seatbelt as optional. Someone at the far left murmured, "He's not wrong." And the person beside them pretended to cough. The air felt thinner, like we were all climbing a narrow stairwell and hoping the next landing would have a window. Brandon cleared his throat. "This is out of context," he said, finally finding a register. "Rick doesn't understand the operational burden on users. He over-engineers. My approach is more efficient." I finished for him, gentle as a scalpel. "We'll get to your approach." I could feel the tremor in the room that happens right before a bridge starts to sway. People aren't built for sustained uncertainty. They need a break in the gray. A sound, a sign, a someone to follow. I glanced toward Hayes. His eyes met mine for the first time. No blink, no nod, just permission not to flinch. I toggled to a black screen, and a tiny play triangle appeared. The projector fan side, a white noise ocean. My thumb hovered a heartbeat longer than I intended, and in that heartbeat I saw every branch the next minute could grow. I hit play, and I get sued. I hit play, and I get escorted out. I hit play, and the room hears what I heard in a break room at midnight when a father told his son to clean the trail and shove me under the bus. Robert must have seen that flicker of calculation cross my face, because he surged to his feet so fast his chair rolled backward and thumped the wall. "We are done," he barked, voice finally losing its corporate veneer. "You don't get to weaponize gossip against this company. You don't get to." "Bill," I said, not taking my eyes off Robert. "As board chair, do I have the floor?" The quiet had a shape now. It had corners, to fit around us like a box. Hayes didn't rush. He lifted his hand with the calm of a judge who'd seen every trick counsel could try. His voice, when it came, sounded like it had been ironed. "Proceed, Mr. Patterson." 100 small things happened at once. A manager in marketing slid her laptop shut. A junior analyst, Sarah, sat up so straight her headset cord went taut. Someone near the door thumbed their phone like they were debating whether to film or flee. The camera red light watched us all without blinking. I pressed play. Sound filled the glass room. A voice young and careless, then an older one teaching him how to survive mistakes by assigning them to someone else. A tiny, delayed gasp rolled through the last row and rippled toward the front like wind across wheat. Robert lurched, hand outstretched, like he could claw the words out of the air. "Sit," Hayes said, not loud, but the room obeyed him. I let the first clip run exactly 12 seconds. Then I paused. In the silence that returned, you could hear a ventilation register clatter somewhere above the ceiling tiles, the building itself clearing its throat, waiting to see who we would be next. My thumb hovered over the next clip. File names weighted in a neat column. Brandon's jaw worked soundlessly, like a swimmer about to go under. "This is just the beginning," I said evenly, for the room, for the record, and for myself. When I hit play again, the screen glowed blue and cold, the sound sharp enough to make the hairs on my neck lift. "Just delete his security protocols before the Pentagon meeting," Robert's voice commanded, the tone flat, businesslike. "Say there was a version control issue. We need them to see only your framework." Brandon hesitated. "What if they ask questions I can't answer?" "Then you look at Rick," Robert replied, "and say, perhaps you can explain why your system failed these basic tests. Make him look incompetent." The moment the clip ended, the room stopped breathing. The stillness felt thick, like the oxygen had been vacuumed out. Robert's face, usually an ad for control and composure, was losing its polish by the second. The veins near his temples started to pulse. Brandon's knuckles went white around his pen, eyes darting anywhere but toward the screen. I clicked pause. "That, gentlemen and ladies, was your leadership's official strategy for securing a $200 million defense contract." Robert shot to his feet again, voice cracking into rage. "That recording is illegal. You think this circus proves anything? It's out of context." "Funny," I said, turning to face him. "You keep saying out of context, but you haven't said it's untrue." A couple of people coughed to hide nervous laughter. Others just stared at their hands, unwilling to move or breathe. The projector light washed everything in ghost blue. Hayes didn't interrupt. He simply leaned forward, elbows on the table, studying Robert like a scientist might study a lab reaction that's starting to smoke. I could feel the adrenaline shift inside me. Not the wild rush of combat, but something cleaner, colder. The kind of focus you get after the blast, when your job is to clear the debris and count who's left standing. I clicked again. "Once this contract goes through, we'll restructure," Robert's voice boomed. "Keep blaming him for everything until our bonus clears." Gasps broke across the room like breaking glass. Robert turned red. "Turn it off." He stormed toward me, footsteps loud against the carpet. Hayes raised a single hand. "Let him continue." That stopped Robert mid-stride. The hierarchy flipped in real time and everyone saw it. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just advanced the next slide. A simple chart showing version mismatches, file access logs, and hash signatures. "Everything you've heard is backed up by data," I said. "Files altered after midnight from Brandon's workstation. Timestamps aligned with those revisions you just heard discussed." I turned to Hayes. "Sir, this pattern's not isolated. It's systematic." Sarah, the junior analyst, shifted in her seat, then stood slowly. Her voice shook, but her eyes didn't. "Mr. Patterson's right," she said. 3 months ago, Mr. Kellerman ordered me to simplify Rick's firewall matrix. He said clients don't like overcomplicated systems. When I refused, I got moved off the Pentagon project the next week. All eyes snapped toward her. It was like the spell broke. People realized they could speak. Then another voice, from the far row. "He told me to remove risk reports from the compliance packet," said Mark, one of the engineers. "Said they'd scare the client." Robert's head whipped around like he was tracking incoming fire. "This is mutiny," he barked. "None of you understand business strategy. You think the DoD cares about your little ethical crusades." A calm voice from the back replied, "Actually, we do." The door opened, and 3 people stepped inside. 2 men in dress blues and a woman in a dark blazer with a badge clipped to it. The Pentagon logo caught the light. Robert froze. His mouth opened, but no sound came. "Mr. Kellerman," the woman said evenly. "I'm Patricia Wells from the Department of Defense Inspector General's office. We'll need to speak with you about these materials." Hayes stood up beside her, face set like stone. "They've been reviewing the documentation since yesterday," he said. "I forwarded Rick's report after he contacted me through proper channels." That one sentence landed like a grenade. Yesterday. Meaning this wasn't spontaneous, it was coordinated. The crowd's energy shifted again. A visible tilt toward Rick, toward order, toward accountability. Robert's voice cracked. This is a witch hunt. He's twisting data to make me look. To make you look honest? I interrupted quietly. No, sir. That was your own voice. Brandon finally spoke. He didn't shout. He didn't defend. He just whispered, Dad, maybe we should stop talking. That silence carried more weight than any accusation could. Patricia nodded toward the door. Mr. Kellerman, your counsel can join us downstairs. Mr. Brandon Kellerman, you as well. Security guards appeared like ghosts. No noise, no show of force, just presence. Robert tried to regain dignity, adjusting his jacket and shooting me a death glare. You'll regret this, he spat. You think the industry forgives whistleblowers? You're finished. I met his eyes. Maybe, but at least I get to finish with a clear conscience. They let him out. Brandon followed, shoulders slumped, eyes on the floor. The doors closed, and for the first time all morning, the room exhaled. The hum of the projector sounded almost peaceful now. Hayes stayed standing. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, his voice tired but firm. This company will cooperate fully with the Department of Defense. The contract is temporarily suspended pending review. Everyone in this room will keep their positions until further notice. He paused, then looked at me. Rick, you'll oversee a full integrity audit. Effective immediately. The words didn't feel triumphant. They felt heavy, necessary. I nodded once. Understood. When the meeting adjourned, people filed out in stunned silence. Some gave small nods of respect. Others just avoided my gaze, guilty of knowing too much too long. Sarah lingered by the door. Took guts to do that, she said quietly. Most of us wouldn't have dared. Yeah, I replied, collecting my drive and unplugging the cable. That's what they count on. Outside the conference room, the hallway looked the same as always, neutral walls, neutral light, but it felt different, cleaner somehow. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was drowning in other people's lies. Still, victory wasn't relief. I knew this wasn't over. There'd be fallout, press, lawyers, audits. But there would also be sunlight. And that, in security or in life, is the only real disinfectant. 3 weeks later, the office still carried the ghost of that meeting. The heavy quiet, the way conversations now started in half-sentences and ended in whispers. The glass conference room that once belonged to Robert stood dark most of the day, blinds drawn like a crime scene sealed off for evidence. The DoD investigators had come and gone twice already, each time carrying boxes of documents and mirrored drives. HR had called it a cooperative data retrieval. Everyone else called it what it was, a purge. I hadn't slept much. Between late-night calls with auditors and rebuilding corrupted access logs, my mind felt like a hard drive running out of memory. But there was one thing that kept me upright, the message from Patricia Wells, the inspector. We verified the technical evidence. The compromised frameworks originated from Brandon's credentials. You did the right thing, Mr. Patterson. Don't disappear, we might need you for testimony. The right thing. It didn't feel like it. The right thing shouldn't leave people unemployed or drag a father and son into federal court. But it was the necessary thing. And necessity doesn't care about comfort. I spent those days rebuilding the company's security backbone from the inside out. We ran every system through third-party scans, rebuilt repositories from clean images, and imposed version control so tight even a sneeze triggered a log entry. It wasn't just cleanup, it was reform. One morning, I got an unexpected email from Hayes. Subject: Lunch, 12:30, Corner Cafe. Bring no files, just yourself. When I arrived, Hayes was already there, nursing a black coffee and looking 10 years older than before. Sit down, Rick, he said. You probably think I'm a coward. I didn't answer. The silence was answer enough. He sighed. I saw things, small things, that didn't add up. But I convinced myself rocking the boat would sink it. You proved me wrong. Sometimes doing nothing is the bigger crime. Robert was your friend, I said quietly. He was, Hayes admitted, until he wasn't. Turns out loyalty and blindness look the same from up close. He reached into his briefcase and slid over a sealed envelope. That's from the board. Interim appointment. Chief Security Officer. I blinked, unsure if I'd heard him right. You earned it, Hayes said. Not because of the scandal, because you did your damn job when everyone else played politics. The DOD reinstated the contract this morning. They'll run joint oversight for a quarter, but we're back in the game. The air left my lungs like I'd been holding it for months. What about the others? Robert's facing federal charges for defense contract fraud, Hayes said flatly. Brandon took a plea deal for obstruction. He's, well, trying to rebuild somewhere outside this industry. Maybe that's for the best. I didn't gloat. Couldn't. There's nothing satisfying about watching a man's ego implode when you've seen how easily systems fail. Instead, I asked, what happens next for us? We start over, he said. And we do it the right way this time. Over the next few months, the company changed in ways I hadn't thought possible. We implemented a whistleblower hotline. Anonymous. Encrypted. Monitored by an external firm. We set up dual code reviews, mandatory peer verification before anything reached production. And every employee, from interns to execs, took an ethics and compliance refresher. People started walking taller. Conversations got louder. Transparency, it turned out, was contagious. One night, as I was leaving, I spotted a familiar figure by the elevator. Brandon. He was thinner, eyes hollow but clearer. He looked like someone who'd finally met gravity. Didn't expect to see you here, I said carefully. He half smiled. Just returning my badge. Thought I owed you that much. We stood there in awkward silence, the hum of the elevator filling the space where pride used to live. I was a jerk, he said finally. Did what my dad told me because I thought that's how you win. Winning's not the problem, I said. Forgetting why you're winning is. He nodded slowly, then extended a hand. Shook a little. You deserved better than what we did to you. I took his hand. Firm grip. Human. Just learn from it, I said. That's all the apology I need. When the elevator doors closed behind him, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt finally free. 3 months later, the company had stabilized. Clients came back. The DOD contract moved forward under tighter oversight. Our stock rebounded faster than anyone expected. Transparency, it turned out, was good business too. On a quiet Friday afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was a video call from my daughter, Emily, now a junior at State. Her smile was all light and caffeine. Dad, guess what? I switched my major. I raised an eyebrow. Please tell me not to art history again. She laughed. Cybersecurity. Like you. I froze. You sure about that, Em? It's not exactly a peaceful career. I know, she said. But watching what you did, the way you stood up for what's right, it made me realize it's not about the paychecks or the titles. It's about protecting people. I want to do that too. My throat tightened. I couldn't find the words, so I just nodded. After we hung up, I sat in my office, Robert's old corner office, and looked out over the city. The lights below blinked in patterns like encrypted messages. For the first time in years, I felt peace. Not victory, not vengeance, just peace. Sometimes revenge isn't about hurting someone back. It's about restoring balance, turning corruption into caution, arrogance into accountability. And sometimes that's enough.